Thank you, Christophe. So indeed, I put up the title "Architect Change Management Approach Without Change, Without Victims." Sorry, without change doesn't happen. Without victims. Actually, I'm very excited because change management is alive and kicking. It still exists, but I still wonder, even if it's alive and kicking, if everyone understands what it really means. Change management. So that's why I put without victims, because the question here behind it is the people driven, like Christina said, the people driven change. If it's not driven by people, you're going to have victims. So that's the key word of my presentation today. So I'm here to tell about the journey at the Groupe Mutuel, about change management. So the mission I had when I arrived was to internalize and harmonize a change management approach. So Groupe Mutuel is an insurance company, like Christophe said, based in Switzerland only. And you can say, what does an insurance company have to do with change management? It's just about reimbursing invoices, right? Healthcare invoices. So who cares about change management? Well, the thing is, as any other business, it is a private business, by the way, in Switzerland, healthcare. As any other business, we also need to make sure we remain in the market and we win market share. So it's not any different from any other companies. And we do also face transformation activities. So when our CEO joined a couple of years ago, there was a huge effort made to create the transformational roadmap. So transformation means change management, right? It just doesn't happen. So, what could this mean? What does this have to do with change, right? You can say, very factually speaking, it looks like pink paint. That's one way of looking at it. I look at it as what is change. And for me, this is something that sticks with me in the back of my head when I start a new change project or initiative. What should change look like? For me, change should always look bright, clear. It should be fluent, simple to understand. And you can actually make the test in your companies. Present this picture of paint and ask, what do you see? If they respond, it's paint, what does this have to do with change? Then you know you're talking to a scientific person, factual person, and you might probably need some more support by someone else to lead your change management approach. That could be a test. And anyway, this is the image that I keep in mind when I tackle changes. Now, how did we go about it, or are we going about it in Groupe Mutuel? As I said, I was hired. Let me just stick here for a minute. Oh, does it go back? Nope. Can it go back? Sorry. I'm spoiling the whole thing. So when I joined Groupe Mutuel, the mission I had was we want to internalize, so you need to internalize and harmonize a change management approach. So until then, we had hired consultants to do that because we thought we could not do it. Or we thought we didn't have the time to do it. Well, guess what? Everyone can do it, right? And if you dedicate the time to it, maybe not if you're 10 people in your company, but if you're beyond 100, I think it's worth internalizing and giving it the effort. So that's what we did at Groupe Mutuel. So the first slide I'm showing this, for people who already practice change management, this is quite clear, but I was very happy since yesterday to hear change management at the first level with digital transformation, but also the culture aspect. You cannot create a culture of change without tackling the change of culture, right? It's not just about teaching people to do things, it's about also behavior. If the mindset doesn't change, you can teach people to do something new, they will not do it. So that's the backbone also of that thinking. Now, you know the famous change curve. I won't go into that, but still thank you Kubler-Ross in the 80s who designed it. So it's quite old, but still valid. Why I designed this or put this up here is to say change management is not accumulation of activities. If someone tells you, I'm taking care of change management, I scheduled a couple of email communications and I've scheduled some training. I'm on it. You're not going to succeed, right? Change management is a process. And that's why I designed this curve once again. We talk about time. We talk about people going through the different changes. So they need time to adapt to the changes. It's not a lack of willingness. It's just the way human beings behave and act. That's why this change curve. So what's at stake for change management, it's, you know this, but this was also how I designed the method behind it, which I will show you in a minute, is to have a maximum of employee adoption. That is what drives me to do change management, and that's the backbone of my method behind it, is employee adoption. Now, right, you can say a change can never have 100% adoption rate. Probably right, so in majority of cases. But then my answer is, if you do not reach out for the moon, you will never catch any stars either. So put this out as your goal. So I designed this change management process, not just a method. It's a process, as I said, and I called it 484, just a memory aid for people. So the method is actually, this one was born last year in November. I called it PASS in French. In English it would be PAM. So, but as we're a French-speaking and a German-speaking company, I call it PASS and WAPF in German. A little bit less sexy, but still. So I called it that. So this method I created, and it coincides with our project management efforts as well. So one goes with the other. So it's not a distinct method. Project management, change management is a perfect marriage. They're very happy. They live under the same roof. So PASS was one of it. The number 8 in this method is about the levers. Which are the levers? So again, if you're satisfied with just communicating a couple times and creating a training program, you're gonna miss out on your change management effort. So I put up these 8 levers. Sorry, that's how I train people and say you don't have to become expert in change management, but if you remember those 8 levers, you'll probably are up for some effective change management plan and efforts. I won't go through the details, but sponsor is obvious. You know this. Someone has to legitimize the change. You need to involve people. It's people driven. Once again, it's not me telling you what to do. You change tomorrow, you will do it. No, you have to involve stakeholders. Like number 2 and 3, middle management in our company is blocking. Some people are blocking. And what do you do when something is blocking? You will go around it. Bad choice. You have to go in front of it. You have to break it. So you have to take middle management, or we have to take middle management with us, because if you don't take them with you, they will be against you. So 2 and 3, involve stakeholders. Like I said, change management goes with project management. It's not distinct. One goes with the other. And that's a challenge also, number 4, because when you're dealing with tech guys, as we're in the digital transformation conference, they have their project plan and move on, and the milestones. Yes, we're on it. Milestones. Hey, have you checked if people are following? Oh, no. Is that my job? Well, yes. Breaking news. It is your job. You do have to take people with you. So that's what I teach them also. Constant information flow, obviously, but that is not the first thing to do. Relevant training if needed. Resistance management, that's what I teach them. And also follow up on the adoption rate. If you never look back, you're going to miss out on your goal as well. So I also teach people, if you're satisfied with sending out a satisfaction survey at the end of your change, hey, what do I look like? Did I do a good job? Then you'll probably be sad with the results, because if it's negative, what do you do, right? The whole thing is over yet. So following this, the adoption rate is part of the levers as well. And then the second 4, but this is all good. We have a process, change management with project management. We have the levers, right? I know all of this. But does that give you an effective change or the adoption rate you want? Probably still not. Why? Because human beings function with emotions. That's probably the only thing that hasn't changed over the thousands of years that human beings walk on 2 legs, is emotions. And luckily for us, we do have emotions, because otherwise this planet would be very sad and probably over if we didn't have emotions. I mean, we still laugh at a comedy, we still cry when we get a nice gift at Christmas, and we still run off when we see a snail or a serpent on a road. So we do have all these emotions, and having those emotions means that change management is still needed and misunderstood. So that's why I created this. I didn't reinvent the wheel, I just put it into a framework, is mobilization. The word embody here is very important. Embody in English, verkörperen in German, incorporer in Spanish, Portuguese, French. Belichamen in Dutch. I'm Belgian actually. So it means the body. What does it mean, the body? If you want to mobilize people, human beings, you need to work on the entire body. Not just the head. That's what we usually do. Information, emails, training, we work on the head. It's not going to work. So that's how I built this up. Obviously, people who've been certified ProSci, ADCAR, they recognize this. I mean, I didn't reinvent this, right? I just tailored it to the company's needs. So first step, and not the other way around, start with number 1. Inform people, sensitize them, make them sensible to something. Make them want to look up from their sheet and say, hey, this might be interesting to listen to. And if you get this, you can go to the next stage. The next stage is the heart. You know the story of the elephant and the rider? Jonathan Haidt? Have a look. You can't move something if you don't win the heart. We're all the same. We're all the same. If you don't win the heart, you can't move. Right? So meaning if you take people to training, step 3, working on the brain, without having convinced them that there's a need to do this, even if they don't want to, people won't take anything in. You can do 2 days training, 1 week training, a month training. If they don't want to, they will not take anything in. Step 3. To get to step 4, that's where we want to head, is make a move, get into action. So those 484, this method that I created, was tailored to Groupe Mutuel, because the first thing that my boss said when I was hired a year and a half ago, he said, I'm going to dump you in the trenches. Trenches in English is at war when they build those deep underground trenches to get dirt, where people got dirty. He said, I'm going to throw you in the trenches, get dirty, get your face dirty, get your hands and feet dirty. Learn about what we need, where we fail. And that's how you can create the method and the approach. And that's what I did. So 9 months later, actually it was 9 months later, now I come to think of it. 9 months later, this method was born, right? So this is something else. You probably know this, but I teach this to people as well in my training programs. Look for buy-in. The sooner you have the buy-in, the easier change will be. This is probably in majority of cases where you need a lot of top-down mobilization, information, sensitizing, etc. But when you come to this buy-in point, tipping point, you can leave a bit of pressure of yourself and you can give it back to people, to your employees. People driven again. Once they take it on, when you have this buy-in, you can take a little bit more vacation and leave it up to people to drive the change. And that's good change management nowadays, because that's the whole paradigm change, right? 20 years ago or 40 years ago, when you had a change you needed to implement, you go to an employee and say, hey, tomorrow you're going to change your system or the way you do things. Here's a tutorial, learn it and do it. Does this work today? No. Today, the response is absenteeism, turnover, burnout, quality errors, and dissatisfied customers. So this doesn't work anymore. This is the new paradigm of change management. And I can assure you, not everyone has understood this yet. So I hope change management doesn't become a buzzword. I really hope that people understand the psychological, the behavioral aspects of change management. So what is the starting point? So again, when I basically applied change management on change management. When I came in, nothing existed. We relied on external consultants. They know best. Guess what? You know best. And we're going to teach together. We're going to learn together. So I had 2 choices. I could take the external approach, consult and say, I'm going to do this on my own. I know best. I'm the expert. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm just going to tell you how to do it. That's the isolated polar bear approach. That wouldn't have worked, right? And then I would be cheating myself, because change management is about involving people in everything you do. So I took the other approach, to take people with me. I built the method with the people to create it and also validate it and implement it. That's the only way it can work. So change management on change management. Also, obviously, not only this, but I also benefited from 3 elements, success factors, I would say. First of all, our executive management wanted it. They were the ones deciding, okay, enough is enough. it doesn't work enough or well enough with external consultants, we have to internalize it. So I had full support. Full support doesn't necessarily mean they knew exactly what it was, but at least there was active support. So I'm teaching them also how to incorporate it and how to express it and how to accompany their teams. But at least I have the support, and that is a key factor. Second success element is that our strategy is a strategy of transformation. If you don't have a strategy of transformation, how can you tell people to adapt to change and lead change? Of course, our strategy of transformation comes from the market, because the market is asking and telling us, you have to transform, otherwise you're finished, right? And then the third element is our company does realize what human capital brings. If you have leadership or HR functions who have no clue what a human being is, what they can bring, it's not going to help you either in change management, right? Or what it can bring or prevent. It goes either ways, right? So these were the key success factors for me to start in the best environment possible. Obviously, there were success and factors, and there's also challenges, not past challenges, still current and future challenges. Success factors is, I started with the most urgent needs, and I could only find out those needs because I went into the trenches. I saw where it hurt. So if I would offer you some medication for your arm, whereas your foot is hurting, you'll say, what do I do with this? So start with the urgent needs. Where does it hurt in the company? You're not going to be legitimate if you provide solutions where there's no problem, right? And it's not about me, it's about the company and the company needs. Second success factor, co-create. As I said, you can't provide a method of co-creation to people if you don't co-create for the method. So I co-created the method. I listened to people. I was obviously the one translating the needs into a solution, but they provided me with the food for it. And then the third one, weave it through the organization. If it's just, even if the company wants to harmonize and internalize and centralize the approach, if it sticks with just an elite of people somewhere high in an ivory tower, it's not going to work either. You have to weave it through the organization, right? It has to become competence, capabilities, and skills of everyone. Challenges, obviously, as I said, not just past challenges, still current and future also, but the three main ones is priorities. When you're in a transformational mood, like there are a lot of projects, initiatives that take time, budget, resources. So when I come and say, hey, I'm going to help you with change management to make people adhere to the change, and then I often receive the answer, yeah, but I don't have time to do this. You know, I go from one project to the other. So that's still a challenge, right? My answer then will be still trying to convince, so what do you prefer? Put in a bit of time, spend your time preparing for the change, and then slowing down on the time or reducing your time implementing, or do you want to do the reverse? Put all your time in a solution that in the end doesn't respond to the needs, and then having to redo. In the end, you're going to lose way more time. That's my answer. It doesn't always work, but you have to see it incrementally. Understanding the customer needs. Maybe you've seen this also in your companies. So it's still a challenge in our company to say, oh, I'm project manager. I know everything. I know what you need. Well, do you really? Do you know my job? And even if you if you knew my job a year ago, do you still know it? Because maybe it's evolved. So do you really know my needs? Right? So it's putting, again, the stakeholder in the middle of the thinking and building it, the change around it. No, not the other way around. I, as project manager, I know everything. No, put people, and that's still a challenge in our company, is going to find out what the needs are of the stakeholders. As I always say, you cannot build a garage if you do not know why you need it for. What is the type of car you have and what do you want from the garage? Do you want to store wine or do you want to put your car in? That's a completely different garage, right? So that's the same thing here. Can't build a solution if you don't know what it's for and who it's for. And then 3 is the right mindset and attitude, and that comes back to the culture of change. And change of culture. It's not because you have the capability, the knowledge and the skills that you know how to do it. So that's a little bit longer. That's a process. You can't just move from one to the other in short time. So case study, a little repeating what I said. So we're in full transformation. It's going to take us a while, but that's what transformation is about, right? There's no real, well, there's a beginning, but there's no real end. Our driver is a new healthcare model. Whether it's Switzerland or other countries, I think we're up for a huge paradigm change in healthcare. And I'm very excited to be part of that. For us, it means, well, strategic deliverables that answer that transformation need. But with that comes also, you have to adapt your organizational structure. You have to adapt how you plan and execute operationally, provide the right tools. We're here in digital transformation, but that's just a small part of the transformation. And then you have the culture. Now, change management or the skills and the competences to accompany these, they accompany everything. Change management can accompany new structures, the planning, the execution, the digital transformation, and the culture. That's where change management can be helpful. And that's what we do in our company, because we have deliverables in all of those areas. I started, when I started a year and a half ago, this is what I provided to our executive management. Say, okay, you wanted this, you hired me for this mission, but tell me a little bit more about what you want in the end. So this is from Frédéric Laloux, Reinventing Organizations, very interesting visionary guy. So he splits companies or company cultures into these 5 types. You can actually evaluate by yourself, where does your company sit? So I asked them, where do you want to go? Where does Groupe Mutuel want to go? Because it helps me to translate this whole, or create this method so that it can take us there. Now, for us, I think there's no one answer. So for us, we will always remain a little bit in the orange because of the transactional nature of our business. There will always be departments in the blue because we have our innovation teams, we have our digital factory teams, etc. But I think the majority, we can aim for the green at least. I think that will be the majorities of the departments. And that was interesting it was eye-opening for me also to see how they reacted. And for me to say, okay, you want to go there? I'll take you there, right? But at least you have a starting point. Then I created the mission and the vision. It's common, what is the mission of change management? Well, accompany the change projects and initiatives, right? In the end, why? Well, to make sure that the transition is smooth for everyone. That's what the goal is behind this change management program. When I said weaving it through the company, I'm actually training 300 people. We're 3,000, a little less than 3,000. So I'm teaching, I'm learning 10% of our company how to deal with change management, which I've never seen in any other company. First there I got the comments or even critics, 10%, you're exaggerating. Why do we need 10% of people knowing this? Well, as I said, they cannot be kept to an elite of people who do this. Because it's a way of being also. It's not just a way of doing. So I'm training 300 people. About 100, like 1/3 of management people, which if I didn't have them, forget it. Forget it. It's not going to change anything. Even if people want to, they will be blocked by middle management. And then 2/3 the project managers, or people not necessarily with the title project manager, but people taking care of changes in the company. Can be HR people, can be communications people, anyone. That's the goal. The second goal will be the rest of the company, but it will be more, it will be a larger scope, tackling the actual culture of the company, right? To provide anyone the tools and the knowledge to do minor things. Because the frontline workers, obviously, they have their daily jobs and objectives. You can't just ask them to go and do change management, but it's just to provide a couple of, just say, weave it through the organization. That's how I learned. This is the only way this is going to work. This is the proof that we had to go through training. I did a pulse survey before and after module 1 of training, just to see where we are. And obviously the blocking point was understanding. What does it actually mean? We know that we need it. I want to do it because I feel the need. That's adoption. But I actually have no clue. Well, not a clue isn't right either. 60% is still high. But I don't really have a clue of how to do this. Or I think I have a way, but maybe it's not the right way. So definitely the training modules were the way to go. And you can see it rose to 93%. So what is our roadmap for this culture of change and even change of culture in the end. It's both. So 2020, we started with this internal audit, which led to hiring me in the end. 2021, I started tackling this approach. I gave birth to the PASS method. And then change capabilities, what I'm working on this year, started in March with the training modules, and it goes into 2023 because it's each time it's half a day of training, so it's a lot of people need to be available for it. But in the meantime, it helps me to evaluate the process or the progress of the capability building. Best practice sharing. You can't just expect people to change their method and the way of doing. So you have to give it time. You have to share best practices. They have to feel the pain and say, hey, yes, I still have pain, but I know now there's a solution. So you have to give them time to adopt it and adhere to it. Obviously, I work closely together with HR, communication, any other department that has close connections to people, obviously. This is not an isolated way of working. 2023, there's still loads for me to do. Working more. I work now on the capability, on the knowledge. I still need to work on the mindset and the behaviors. There's still a couple of things to change, but it will come slowly. You can't just say it's going to happen overnight, right? You have to work on it slowly. You have to give it time also. We're all human beings. We need time to adopt, and this is definitely not the only thing we need to do in a day. So 2023 is going to be mindsets and ways of working. 24, as you know, change management is a reactive way, or it's a way of reacting to change. But what I want to get at is the more proactive way of tackling change. Instead of having maybe 100 huge projects coming to people, it's smaller incremental changes that they have themselves decided. But that's going to be a little later. So you have to build up this mindset and also then follow with the capability. So there's still, and then probably doesn't stop at 26 either, which is good for me. So key takeaways after 1 year: link it to the strategy, to the mission, to the values of the company. You can't just the company says one thing and then you do another thing. So every time I stand in front of people, I do my trainings or my workshops, I always link it back to the strategy. So people can connect to it and it makes sense. I didn't say the word yet, but this is all about sense making. The why, like Christina said, it's all about making sense, right? And again, the second point links to making sense. Find the pitfalls of the company and work the solutions towards it. Evaluate the culture. Again, it's not only culture of change, it's change of culture. Find the culture pitfalls also and see which pieces to move. Inspire confidence. This is old knowledge, but do we really do it? Inspire confidence by walking the talk. If I don't apply what I teach, I will not have any legitimacy in whatever I do. And then awareness that change doesn't happen overnight. If people accept that, it gives you a little bit of breathing space. So final conclusion, that's what I'm now, I give the feedback to my executive management as well. You wanted a change management approach, but let's not be satisfied with just putting people in training programs and we'll be okay. No, make sure we also change the culture with it, because it's not going to be sustainable otherwise. And they're clapping for us, so. So actually, I suggested these topics for the round table, but obviously we're free to do whatever we want.
Are you finished?
Yep.
Thank you very much, Geneviève.